they went to it.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you this. He was considered a better batsman than Chandra Paul. I remember
Mm-hmm.
him at the ground, Everest in Ghana. This was what 91, thereabout? 92. No, 91 we played in Jamaica, 92 we went to Ghana, yeah. And I remember we played at Everest. And Mario got some runs. Tino got runs too. And, you know, they were talking about Mario and not Chandra Paul, the Guyanese people.
Mm-hmm.
At the club that Chandra Paul, at the time he played for. And there was Mario who won the hearts of the people because of how well he batted. And as I said, in my opinion, he was headed for the higher level
Mm-hmm.
but that illness curtailed his advancement.
Mm-hmm.
When he told me what was happening to him, you know.
I remember there was a game they were playing. Jamaica was playing in, I don't remember which island. And Mario was taken off the field in a stretcher.
Yes.
And I called his dad to say, ask him if he knew what was going on. He said he didn't hear anything. And so, since I had my contact in that island, I called and was able to reach Mario
Mario, that's
to
good.
find out. And then I could call his dad and say, I spoke
You
to
spoke
Mario.
with him. You spoke with him.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah. You also spent a lot of time in the book talking about Jimmy Adams. And I know we were part of that Hall of Fame class of 2018.
Right.
So,
As a matter of fact, the pictures in the book, you're in a picture that I have to call my editor. Why you were in the picture? You know, because at the back of the book, John, you will see your pictures, right?
yeah.
Of the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
Cameron, Michael Chambers, signing the bat for Foster's son, right? In one of the pictures there. And there's a with Foster and his daughter, Michelle, with Mrs. Matthews, the president. And
Right.
then there's a picture there with you should be in that picture because I don't know why. I wonder if it's Michael Chambers told her, because Michael Chambers know the editor of the book, you know. I wonder if it's Michael Chambers. You have to right? Because there's this picture with my son, my grandson, was in me, my blazer, and to my right was Richard Stable, and there's all of them are sitting in front of me. And I think there are two other persons there. You are in one of them, and the picture is not, you're not in the picture. So I've done Chambers. Yeah.
Edit me out.
Yeah. Yes. I talk about a number of players there, you know, and and there was an incident with Jimmy Adams. What year was it? 85, 84, whatever year it was. When we came back, we were the Jamaica Cricket Board of Control. They had a match against the Board 11 against the U team. And we had a presentation on the field. And Professor Mills, he went to JC, just like Jimmy. And he asked me to introduce him to Jimmy, being the manager of the team. And then in their conversation, he asked Jimmy, so which university you'll be going after you leave JC? Jimmy replied, the University of Cricket. I mentioned that in the book too. You know?
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
What made Marlon Tucker special?
Oh, wow. Marlon Tucker, apart from the fact that Marlon, I love Marlon, and apart from him being an exceptional cricket leader, I get to know him well enough because Junior Tucker, his young brother, married to my ex-wife's sister.
Hmm.
So we would see each other, would fraternize, at events, something like that. But Marlon, the cricketer, the leader, I would have seen him at an early age, as a teenager. But when I was manager of the under-25 team, the Red Stripe, the local Red Stripe competition, and I was manager for a couple of years, and he had some senior players there, Wayne Lewis, Patrick Patterson, Cleveland Davidson, and the way his captaincy is so exceptional, that the way he talked to the players, the way he motivated them. I remember a match at Al Park, and he wasn't too happy with the players, and he and Mark Neat were good friends. And the wicketkeeper, his name is Taylor. I think he's in charge of the complex at Fort Lauderdale. He's in charge of the complex. He was a member of the team. And the way he talked, he said, Mr. Manager, let me talk to these guys. This was during the lunch break. And when you listen to Marlon talking to these guys, and the wicketkeeper, you are the motivator. You have to be more serious behind the wicket. The guys, the unique thing about Marlon as a captain is that they played for him. They played for Marlon, respected him highly. And Marlon make changes, unconventional changes. You said, this won't be work. You're watching from the sidelines, and it worked. And the camaraderie, it's so different. And I was a selector at the time, and I heard complaints about our captains, because players would come back and they confide in the selectors, that, as a newcomer, certain captains never made them feel comfortable. I'm not going to identify, these. I talk about Matt Morris already, with Matt Morris, but I won't go any further. With as a captain, he was good. He was really, really good. And the beauty about it, I think Tamar Lambert had that type of success with his players too, because they came through at the youth level, right? But I'm not going to compare who was better. Me and that Marlon, he was exceptional. He certainly was. And the type of players he led, remember, he led Michael Olin, Courtney Walsh,
Patrick Patterson,
Jeffrey Duchamp. These are seasoned international players.
Dutch told me that Patterson is the fastest bowler he has ever kept wicket to.
I remember, for instance, a trial match, he was bowling to Wayne Lewis. And he had a group. They were close. Patterson, Wayne Lewis, Robert Haynes, Marlon Tucker, and Nita. They were close. And I remember Pato bowling to Wayne. And Wayne said, when Wayne came in, said, Pato, I never expected you to bowl them deliveries. We're friends. Pass at me. But I remember a match. We were playing against the Leewards with Viv Richards and Richard Richardson, Luther Kelly, Ralston Hutto, all these top batsmen, right? And Pato was bowling. When Pato out Viv Richards, I was liaison officer. I was liaison was it to the Leewards team? But I was outside, and you hear in the bat, crack against the wall. Viv Richards out. Pato shake them up. He was so quick. He was exceptionally quick.
Yeah, I spoke to Dude, and Dude says he's the fastest bowler that he keep wicket to.
No, he's receiving those thunderbolts from Michael Gold. And it's gone.
Exactly. And that's why we questioned him about that.
Yeah.
And he said, I mean, just like when I spoke to Jackie, and Jackie said that Roy Gilchrist is the fastest bowler he kept wicket to.
Gil, Gilchrist must have been really, really fast. And because the stories that we would hear about Gilchrist, right? And it's all about pace, speed, and he let them go like thunderbolts at the bus.
Your travels have taken you to many places. Which country have you enjoyed most?
I like how the game is played in England, and when you go to the villages, you like on a Sunday, it's like I'm looking at where you are now, John. Is that your backyard? The back of where
it's my property somewhere.
Okay, I hear you, John. I hear. This you said the greenery. Pakistan and Bangladesh that have been, but another place that I was really impressed with, really impressed with, is in South Africa. I tell you, in 2019, I went to watch, my son and I, we went and watched the World Cup, the 50 overs, and we went to 18 counties. Right? We went and looked at the ground and so on. And we never got to Derbyshire until late the night, so we weren't able to go onto the ground. And this June, when I went to England, this June, and the game finished early on the Sunday at Edgeworth, we journeyed to Derby because Michael Holden played there and Ron Ball, I think Wavy Lines played there too, and we were able to see the ground. So we were able to look at the infrastructure of the place. We look at the buildings with, some of the grounds. They have like a gym. It's shared by the teams, and this was pronounced to us when we went to South Africa, right? And they have a museum, cricket museum. And this is why I remember when I came back from South Africa last year, I got onto Billy Haven. He was the president at the time, and that we need to have a museum, and we need to have apart from the museum, we need to have a training area. And I think they have it in Jamaica. These guys lift weights in an area in the players' enclosure where they can lift their weights.
Yeah, there was a time when English teams visited Jamaica. How important or impactful was this to the development of our cricketers?
It certainly had an impact. I was fortunate enough at the time to have played against the touring Cavaliers with all these former and present international players, and against Australia, touring Australia team, because in the earlier years they would play against the national teams of all the countries. The test match, and in some countries they played against the Colts team, but they're apart from like the test teams like Worcester, Toured Cavaliers, Duke of Norfolk teams, they played against rural teams, and it helped towards the development not only of the city players but also the rural players. And this certainly played a role. It's just like estate cricket. The demise of our cricket, the standard of our cricket can be attributed to the loss of the sugar estate competition, because you had 18 sugar estates right? At the time when I was playing 18. And I visited all apart from one of the grounds, which was Appleton. But I played against Appleton at home, but never visited Appleton,
Mm.
St. Elizabeth. But Allen Estate is also in St. Elizabeth, right? So I would have visited. But when you look at all these estate teams, and I mentioned it earlier in our discussion, the talent, was remarkable. When you think of the gift of these players, they were really gifted because they're on coach, and you wonder, especially in the batting, because we always associate batsmen in the country coming from the city. They are more rounded.
Yeah.
This was the view of most people. But when
Mm.
you're privileged to play against these guys, you would have observed that the talent there is just as plentiful as in Kingston, because Kingston is just Kingston. But when you look at parishes, there are 13 parishes there. There are players that were comparable to the city players. And not having the estate competition, it
Right.
affected the growth and the development of players. And also the Sunday competitions, right? Because in the Sunday competitions, you have so many players. They were just good. In the Sunday competition, you'll have a team that some of these guys, they could represent a club in the senior competition. They were that
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
They were that
Yeah.
good.
Mm.
And then you had all these competitions, Sunday competitions, right? As I mentioned before, you had the Carib, the Ambleton, the Enriquez, you had the Noel Hilton competition, right? The ranking. And these,
Mm.
and apart from the Hilton was a competition that I with Les Brown, he was working in the ship industry and with the Port Authority. And
Right.
I remember the chairman, Hilton, said, Les and I should get see if we can arrange a competition name of his name, Hilton.
Mm. I know you mentioned earlier that you left St. Catherine and went played for the JDF for 2 years.
Yeah.
But did you and Mickey Murdoch ever settle that your differences?
Yes, man. Mickey Murdoch, I know you know him well, was one of the most knowledgeable cricketers that I've come across. He was one of the most. He did not play for Jamaica. He did not play for West Indies. But when you listen to Mickey defining batting, bowling, wicket keeping, is like a lecture.
Mm.
A lecture. It's unfortunate what happened there, that I left St. Catherine knowing that I would have to come back. But Mickey, after I came out, Mickey, we were very close. Very, very, very close after that. Because we were working at United Fruit Company together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Roy Dillon. And, that's where it started with whoever, right? the lady.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was married. I was married at the time, something like that. Anyhow, life is like that.
Yeah.
And
Do you still
but
consider?
he used it, John, to
Yeah.
chase me. Because the year before, um, that I played only one match in the Senior Cup against Railway. Just one.
Mm-hmm.
I never play any more cricket for the Senior Cup. I could never become else. And I was told by the selectors, I'm not playing, so I cannot. But the year before, my performance, I was the top batsman for St. Catherine, and I was the top bowler. I was
Mm-hmm.
the overall averages for the Senior Cup, second to Bruce Wellington, and second to Winston Davis in the batting. And I was batting number 3.
Mm-hmm.
The first match against Railway, I batted at number 8. And I never bowled in the game. And I remember Silver and Robinson, good little all-round cricketer, good all-round cricketer. and Basil Williams. Williams bowled two spells, and I never got a bowl. And I said, boy. And then I was the vice captain, and I just said, no. You can't.
Do you still consider yourself methodical?
Of course. Of course. You're going to ask me a question now?
You know.
No. Yes, I consider myself, I evaluate things,
Mm.
doing, and I have my own methods, yes. But at the same time, I do respect others, but I have my way, and I do things my way. And I remember one of the most acute situation I found myself in as a captain, when I had to explain to John Earl, the great John Earl, that he could not be accommodated into the senior cup team.
Mm.
As John, as great a player as he was, and he was a good team man. And a lot of our players learned, especially our fast bowlers, learned from John. But John always, he was an habitual absentee from the start of the senior cup game.
Mm.
Sometimes, and he's supposed to be bowling the new ball, with the new ball,
Yeah.
6-7 overs bowl, and he doesn't attend practices and things like that. But I can understand, towards the end of his career, maybe he was disappointed. As great a player as he was never called to trials. And how is he going to play for the national team if he were not invited to the trials?
Mm.
And this partly got to him, and he wasn't turned up to practice, and he was turned up late for the games. And it wasn't, our team chemistry was affected by it. And I know players weren't too happy, so I had a chat with him,
Mm-hmm.
or asked him if he could at least come to practice, one day in the week, at least one in the 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And he make every effort. He was self-employed, so he could get to the game on a Saturday, and it continued.
Mm-hmm.
Then to leave him out, I consulted with the senior players, went with Pinnock Collins, Herman Bennett, and he took it in good grace. As a matter of fact, he continued playing, but at the junior cup level.
Mm-hmm.
And the first year he played at junior cup level, St. Catherine won the junior cup. As a matter of fact, the team is the junior cup team is in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You were able to maintain confidentiality with information Lawrence Rowe shared with you on the South Africa Rebel Tour. How difficult was it, Len, to say to your fellow administrators you knew nothing about it?
All right. Let me give you the full story. And we were playing Bermuda, and Lawrence was the captain of the Jamaica team. At the end of the game, we walked with him, Lyndon Wright, all of
Muddy.
it. Yeah, Muddy. All came up. We accompanied him to his car that was parked behind the Kingston Club Pavilion. And he told us that he was going to South Africa. It was confidential, but should say nothing to anyone, because there's a clause in their contract that no one is to be told about the game, or the tour rather. So this was Sunday, and the Monday, Hugh Crosskill, who was with JBC, and we had a sports program at about 7. John, I think you would remember, about 10 sports program. And he called me at about 6:30. In those days, because I was I was a selector and I was a senior cup captain, they would have our numbers. They would call us about, especially if you have a feature game and they want to interview the captains to get their comment. So he called me and said, Len, please help me out here. I heard that you're in the company of Lawrence Rowe, and he told you and Lyndon, right, that this would be the last time you'll be seen walking from Savannah Park with this cricket gear. So I said to him, whatever we discussed was confidential. But it got to the board. Right? It got to the board that I knew. And it was on the agenda. Can you imagine? It was on the agenda. And I remember Jackie Hendricks and Alan Ray, when we were on the top floor, the boardroom, and they were outside. They were expecting me, so they wanted to talk to me before, because it was on the agenda. I would know. Alan Ray was the president. And the lawyer, Alan Ray, that they could not force me to say what Lawrence Rowe told me, right? So I was aware of what to say and not to say. So when the item came up, there were two instances of a situation like the Lawrence Rowe situation. And when I was asked, I just said, whatever we discussed was confidential, and I'm not at liberty to disclose it. Alan Ray said, next item on the agenda. It didn't allow the people to question me.
Right.
And there was another incident now with Rowe. There was another incident with Rowe. But that South Africa incident, and I kept it to myself. Lyndon Wright did the same thing, because we're not supposed to let anyone know. But we were so close, because Lyndon Wright, Basil Williams, and Lawrence Rowe, they saw me as their bigger brother. They confided in me, right? And it was when I started writing the book that I asked Lawrence if I could mention it, and he says, and this would have been what, 2018? Yeah, 2018 I started writing the book, but for all 6 months I did nothing on the book. And with so much cricket happening on the TV at Willow, and to be talking to John Melbourne, and others calling me. Sometimes I start a sentence on Monday, and it's 2 Mondays after that I complete the sentence. And I'm glad, because it allowed me to have been to South Africa to experience not just their lifestyle where we were in work, but the facilities at the ground and the facilities at different grounds. Because I remember in here, I was told that a lot of English county teams would come there during their winter to train. And when I look at the facility, you see all 8 nets. No, if you have 8 nets, eight batsmen batting. And if you go to that club after work, right, 8 men, they're going to bat for 10 minutes. Another 8 can bat. Unlike in Jamaica and maybe other parts of the Caribbean, we don't have that type of facility. And that opened my eyes. And this is why I said that I wrote to, I sent the information to Dr. Bennett. He was a vice, Chris Harris, the CEO, and Billy Heaven, the president, and let them know about the type of facilities, and we should work towards that. Have a museum. Because at Lords and Oval, you go there and you get tour guide, right? I remember even on the last tour, we went to Derbyshire because we did not, the first time, we were not able to go onto the cricket field, right? Because it was night. We went back, but we went to Wimbledon, and to Wimbledon. Did you know, Wimbledon, that the first Wimbledon, the winner got £10?
But that was big money then.
Money.
Yes, it's 2 million getting now. But then you didn't have women. Women weren't playing at the time. But
Mm.
all these things you saw when you go on the guide.
Yeah, yeah.
And
The history.
I remember, John, we went to, was it the Oval or Lords? And we had maybe about 50 people. And sometimes they overlap. You had people coming in after we leave and things like that. And the guy who was showing us around, he pointed to the board with all those batsmen who scored a century for the first time at Lords.
Mm.
For the first time, the batsman who scored a test century. And on that board, one person is the only person. Sorry, not one century. A century in each innings.
Mass George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of Englishmen. But there's one non-English player name on the board.
Mm.
You know who that player was?
Mass George.
Mass George, 106 and 107. And my son Rowan went up and asked, to ask him for, to allow him to point this out. And then he said, a West Indian, he's from Jamaica. And the people started to clap because I think the Englishman, he should have pointed this out, that the only that Australian, Pakistan, Sri Lankan, none of them name is there. But Mass George name is there.
And by the way, Len, we spoke about the Ventura brothers earlier.
Yes.
His father told me it's Mass George who was coaching Mario, you know.
Yes, yeah. And every time you mention Mario, I feel so a little down for him because I did not know that he was suffering that much and he was out of the game and I didn't know why. And when he wanted to make a comeback, he was good. He was good. He was good.
Yeah.
You know.
As I tell you, I went to, it was at Lucas, that semi-final Sunlight Cup game.
Yeah.
And when I got there, he was 6 yard. And then I see him make couple cover drives, you see, man.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
And when he make the shot, he don't move, he just take the bat and tap his pad. Nobody move, nobody get hurt.
But hold on a second. You say Mass George, you mean George Foster, right?
No, man. George Headley.
George Headley. Okay.
Yeah,
we have some younger people out here listening to this conversation.
Okay, they need to know. They need
yeah. And when I left the park, he was 135, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I watching the sports news tonight, he was 200 and change, not out.
That's why I said he was a player. He was a player, and then because at the higher level now, the bowling is much stronger. He had to be more selective. He wasn't scoring as briskly, but he had all the shots, and he was good to look at. They say good on the high.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to mention, Len? The book is available on Amazon, as I should have told folks. Through the Years, My Life in Cricket by Len Chambers. But is there anything else that you might want to mention?
Well, okay, just finish with the book. It's in hardcover and paperback. Right? I would just like to say, because, and rightly so, people are disappointed And let's deal with Jamaica, that you and I are more familiar with, right? That we're not doing well. And cricket is not getting the type of coverage that it should be getting.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that the main reason for our substandard is attributed to administration. We should not allow a situation where we have no junior cup team to the senior cup team. How are you going to develop players if you don't have a junior cup team? And it has been so for a long time.
Mm.
In the earlier years that I served on the board, we had people that they would offer jobs, get employment for people. They had a say in Jamaica hierarchy in terms of positions, the commercial field, industrial field, and players were never out of a job. But that aside, we didn't have the people for a long period. I think with the new group that the new president is surrounded with, they can move the game forward. Because at this moment, they have an under 13. I don't know if the competition has started yet, but they have assembled players from the different parishes, under 13. And from that under 13, they're going to get the group down to a manageable number so that you can have 4 teams. And from that 4 teams, a team will be selected to go to Trinidad to play things 4 matches. It is not a regional tournament. It's just a country-to-country exchange.
Mm-hmm.
That might do it the following year. But you can see the focus where they're at now.
Development.
The development. And at the time, they have to help the clubs because players coming out from the youth level, they're refined at the club level. You've got senior players there, whether the club players, whether they play for the national team or not, they're good club players, and they will refine the players in the different ways, whether you're batting, bowling, and your deportment, and to honor and respect officialdom. That because in the schools you have your as a youngster you will have your ways, but you cannot exercise that type of attitude when you're at the club level. And at the club level, you will be well prepared once you perform to be good national ambassadors.
Once again with us, Len Chambers, the former Jamaica cricketer, administrator, selector, just penned his book, available at Amazon, Through the Years, My Life in Cricket. It's available, folks. Get it, read it, enjoy it. Len, thank you so much for spending the last couple hours here on the John Sports Corner on the SosoBone media platform. And you know, Len, I know we'll be talking cricket, lovely cricket, over the next several months, years. But again, thank you so much for taking the time, Len.
It's my pleasure, and I'm thankful to you as a co-host, and Trevor, for the invitation to be on this program. And I would like to wish you all the success. It's a new program, and I think that you'll be one of the top cricket programs in the world.
Oops.
I'm on. So good luck, good luck to both of you.
Thank you so much, Len. Thank you very much.
Yes, John, I will say that we are climbing the ladder. We are climbing the ladder. It seems like 45 minutes, but it's going on 3 hours. And
We started.
we will be putting it out in stages.
Yes.
So that it can be listened to maybe in 20-minute segments.
Okay.
So that people can get a chance to actually experience this full dialogue and this discourse that you just presented to us.
Yeah.
Some of the names you mentioned, of course, for me, they are a revelation. For John, who is an old man, it's history. Okay, but but
I just told my children, I am not old. I just have some years behind me.
but you have done well in putting this together in your book, and I think that it's important that we archive, the history of our people, and too many have passed by, and except for people who take the time out, like you have done, to put it in writing, just to secure their presence forever. They would have disappeared and have been forgotten.
Yeah. And
So
just
thank you so much for this
I would
for
just
this contribution.
what you have just said is so meaningful. A couple of players who have gotten their books, they said to me, Manage, I played at school. I played for the national youth team. I played for the Jamaica senior team. I've never seen my name in a book.
Yes.
More pictures, because in this book, a lot of school teams started with Black River, Monroe, St. Elizabeth Sec, Garvey Masio, right into the city. You have the St. Jago, you have Jonathan Grant, you have so many of these teams that are there. And it's good when and the guys who came to camp and they did not play, I mentioned their names.
Yes.
And it's a revelation to them.
Yes.
I know that reading the book, it's a journey where it all started. From the lanes and the backyard to the level of the Jamaica cricket board, and it will be enjoyed, I'm sure. And I'm sure John enjoyed his reading of the book.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it because it really brought back some memories, some names, I mean, that I never remembered.
Yeah.
I said, oh, I remember this guy,
Yes.
But yeah, man, I enjoyed reading it.
Yeah.
Well, I say I am heartened by the fact that you are able to be on this program. John and I, we speak about the underbelly of the lack of development that you mentioned. And I was very heartened to hear when you talk about taking your son to the game, because that's something John and I spoke about as not happening in the diaspora. And whether or not, when one generation passes on, whether we're going to have any refilling coming from inside of our culture, not outside of the country. But, from inside the diaspora itself, where we can say that younger people are picking up the baton. Okay. So that is that part of the story made an impact.
Well said. Well,
Yeah.
that conversation with John, young John,
Yes.
is imperative, because when you look at these games in the USA,
Mhm.
mostly Indians, and they have their children with them,
Yes.
and you have the children with their bat, and they're on the side playing.
Yes.
We don't see that with our people from the Caribbean
Yes.
who were so relevant, and they were the ones who would have started the game.
Mhm.
And when you look at the USA team, you don't have enough West Indians on it.
Right.
Maybe one or two might be in a game. And it wasn't like that 30 years ago,
Mhm.
40 years ago. And this is so important, that you take your children to the game.
Yes.
If you take them to the game, they will like it. Because listening to one of the games that was played in Texas, and a little girl was interviewed and a little boy, and they both prefer cricket to baseball.
Yes.
Yes, including that little girl. And an elderly man, he also preferred cricket. So, if you expose the youngsters to the game, they will learn and they will spread it. John, I think, understand what is happening at the schoolboy level here in New York, right? Because there are schools that are playing,
Yes.
and this is a good sign.
Yes.
But that discussion that you mentioned with John is so relevant towards the development of the game in the USA.
Yes.
What time I totally enjoyed the time with both of you, and it was a privilege for me to talk to both of you. And thanks very much for this platform. And it helps towards the book. The idea of this book is to explain what it was like during my time up to when I left Jamaica in '96. What the game meant to so many people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm gonna shut off the recording now. Let me say thank you again, Len,
Okay.
and thank you so much, John, for getting us this gem for this evening. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, let me say thank you, Len, for this gem, because, as John said, the Hall of Fame might have been started an hour and a half ago, but this was worth the sacrifice of the time for this meeting. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Okay.
Okay, then bye-bye.